Hello everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel. In today's video, I am going to share with you the latest stamp market release, Hocus Pocus. They were nice enough to send me a bunch of stamps, dies, and pattern paper from this new release, and I want to share everything with you and share some card inspiration too. So let's dive right into the card making, and I'll share the new products along the way. So for this card, I'm going to start with the Pretty Pumpkin stamp set. It's a layering stamp set, and I'm also going to use the Hocus Pocus pattern paper. All of these patterns are included. You get 2 of each sheet, and they are 6x8 single-sided sheets. I love the addition of pink to the orange and black. I think it's just a great addition to Halloween colors, and you know I love non-traditional colors for some extra fun. So for the first layer of the pumpkin, I did put some embossing ink on it and wiped it away with my hand. I saw Jennifer McGuire do that like years ago to kind of season a stamp, and for these layering stamps you really want a nice clean image there, so I figured it would be really good to do here. You can see the ink colors that I'm using at the top of the screen. I'm using salmon for the first layer, peach for the second layer, and papaya for the third layer. Salmon and papaya were 2 of the new colors that came out this summer, and I think they make a really pretty pumpkin. Just something a little bit different with almost a hint of pink in them that will go really nicely with the pattern paper. The other part of this layering stamp is the stem. It's just 2 layers, very easy to line up. It fits right into the open space of the pumpkin. I love this sentiment, so very thankful because of that beautiful script font. And I did cut this white panel down quite a bit so that I could put it on a A2 piece of the pattern paper. I have more of the pattern paper showing on the right hand side. I really like that look with this plaid. I think it's just kind of a fun and different way to create a card. And then I just popped up the pumpkin and one is done. Y'all know how much I love my clean and simple cards, and this detail in the pumpkin is just enough to make it special. For this next card, we're going to use the Pumpkin Patch Layering Pumpkin stamp set. In this stamp set, you can create several different pumpkins and a gourd. You can see that there are several dies that cut each of the basic images out, and there's only a few layers per image, so they're again very easy to line up, especially with, you see the spot for the stem there. That makes the pumpkin itself easy to line up and the stem easy to line up. So if you're somebody who gets a little nervous around layered stamps, I do recommend you giving the Stamp Market's layering stamps a try. I find them very easy, and I am often intimidated by layering stamps. Here I'm going to work on the gourd, and I did look up colors of gourds, and I'd forgotten that I've seen them like this, where kind of a yellowy background and some green lines to them. So that's the one that I went with here. I'm just going to stamp several of these pumpkins and decide what I want to use in my card after I die cut them all out. If you do have extras in a case like that, just pop them in the back of your die pocket or stamp pocket, whatever you are using, and save them for the next project. So I do that all the time. I often stamp and die cut more than I need and just save it for another card because it just makes that second card that much quicker. So you can see that again, these stamps are very easy to line up, and they're also very forgiving in that these little dots, they don't have to be perfectly where they were intended to be. The pumpkin will still look beautiful and detailed even if you get it slightly off center. So you can see all the different details from these different pumpkins and gourds. I'm going to use all the dies to cut these out, and they have some beautiful script and straight font sentiments in this set as well. I'm using Harvest Wishes and matting 2 pieces of pattern paper on top of each other, and then a strip of a third piece. I'm going to use that pink, bring that pink in this time, and also use some foam squares to pop some of these pumpkins up. I'm going to line them up on that gingham. Kind of looks like a picnic blanket maybe, and so I will just have them in a row lined up, and they'll all be popped up on some foam squares. That gives you, if you put the foam square in the middle, some room to overlap them a little bit, and just makes it look like a complete harvest of beautiful pumpkins. For this card, I am going to use the webbed die to create a spider web, and I'm also going to use the Spooktacular stamp set, which is a fun sentiment set. So I'm cutting out an A2 piece of black cardstock. The reason that I'm using an A2 piece is because I want this to go on an A2 card. So some of it hanging off the side did get cut off, that's okay. I am going to mat this piece of pattern paper that's got all those sentiments in the background on some orange pattern paper from the same set. And then I'm going to cut out my Spooktacular sentiment out of white cardstock stamped in black ink. I'm going to use Ultra Bond's liquid adhesive with little dots all along the web. I don't have to cover every single little bit, but I do want to cover all the edges so that nothing peels up. And then just trim off anything that's hanging off the sides. And to finish this off, I am going to just pop up that sentiment, which is why I love having the dies for the sentiments if they come with them. And I'm going to pop it up on some foam adhesive right in the middle of the web. Again, super easy to put together, so cute with that pattern paper. This time I'm going to use the Happy Halloween stamps. This is a really cute set with more traditional images. There's ghosts, bats, a witch's hat, spider web, some really cute sentiments as well. Most of the stamps are single layer, but the hat has a double layer where you can color the brim a different layer than the hat. You could see me struggling. That's because the stamp is nice and sticky. That means it's a high quality photopolymer. So just get it in place. And then I like to use the Misty here so that I can really line it up on the hat. And then I stamped it in lilac ink. For the bat, I am going to stamp it first in slate, which is a pretty gray. And then I stamped the detail layer on top in black. The little ghosts were 1-layer stamps. I do like to stamp them 2 or 3 times to get the most smooth looking image. And if you have a stamp positioner, you might as well go ahead and stamp it 2 or 3 times to get that really smooth image. I'm going to use some little washi tape to hold those dies in place, and then I'm going to work on the sentiment. So this again is the Spooktacular stamp set. I'm going to stamp this sentiment in black ink on white cardstock, and then I'm going to use the dies to cut it out. So you can see you could stamp it in color, you could heat emboss it, and like silver would be really pretty. I decided to go white and black because for this card I'm sticking with the traditional Halloween colors. So I have white and black, then I have a really great orange, green, and purple. So I basically put the sentiment right down in the middle of the card. You can see that the hat actually fits right above the sentiment just perfectly. Put the little ghosts on the trail of the letters and then added a couple of bats and spiders. I like the spider on the ghost. It either looks like a little bow in the ghost's hair or like the spider dropped on the ghost's head and scared it. I decided I wanted a little more purple here just to accent the corners in the same color. So purple and then black on the last bat as well. For this next card, I'm going to use the Ghost Shaker die. You can see that it comes with a large frame, a background piece of the ghost. It's got a boo sentiment and the large eyes. It also has a small ghost with small sets of eyes and mouth. So I am working with the large set right now. I did cut out this background piece. This is how you basically use the frame cuts to layer up on top of the background piece. I recently did a video talking about shakers, how you can either work upwards off the card to create a shape shaker on the card, or you work below the card to create the shaker behind the window inside the card. For this one, we're using that shape shaker. We're going to work up. So I did die cut the frame piece, which you can see here. It's several times out of 110-pound white cardstock, and I glued those all together with liquid glue. You just want to make sure that you don't miss any spots so that nothing comes out the sides. For the last piece, I am just going to take all those stacked up frames and glue it on that background there. The background makes it really easy to see where exactly you want those frames. Then I took a piece of Judikin's clear acetate and I am going to adhere one more frame down to the acetate to create my window. So it will be a ghost shaped window. While I was waiting for everything to dry, I put a little bit of adhesive on that A2 piece of ghost pattern paper and adhered the back down. This is kind of like your shaker bowl. So I pour all my sequins right inside and then shake it around so that everything is smoothed out and there's nothing bunched up, which would make it hard to put the window down. Then I'm going to put liquid glue all around the outside of those stacked frames and lay my window right down on top. And then just make sure that this is dry before you lift it up so that those sequins don't come flying out at you. I am going to use the boo that I had cut out of black cardstock and the eyes in the mouth. I'm going to put the eyes in the mouth right on top of the acetate. You could put them inside the shaker, but then you might not see them when the shaker goodies cover them up. So I like to put it on the outside of the acetate along with that boo sentiment. Is just too cute. I love how cute that turned out. This next project is actually a little favor bag rather than a card, and I'm using the bitty bag and tag dies. So I'm going to use this main die here, cut it out twice. If you're using pattern paper, put the pattern paper down on the cut lines of the die. This piece, we have two of the same pieces. This piece, I'm going to cut the window out. It goes right under the flap that you see at the very top there, and it will cut out within that rectangle that's underneath. Now I'm using a piece of Judikins acetate, and I'm keeping the little protective piece of tissue paper behind it so I can draw little lines and know exactly how big I need to cut my piece of acetate so that it'll fit behind the window but not cross over any of the score lines of the die cut. So I'm just going to cut that and then remove that little tissue paper and get rid of that. Then I'm going to put a little tape runner around the edge of the open of the window and place my acetate behind it. Yes, you could use liquid glue. I'm very impatient. That's why I use tape runner as much as I can. So you can see there now we have a window. For the other piece that doesn't have the window cut out, I need to cut off the flap. I only need one flap for my bag. So I'm going to put this piece in my paper trimmer, and right at that score line, I'm going to cut that flap right off. It's very simple to do because you can in person see that score line. Now I'm going to fold everything from the pattern side onto the white side. So I'm folding down or towards me, and I'm using my bone folder to reinforce the score lines. I like to do that because then it makes it really easy to put together. There are two diagonal score lines right here. This is the side of the bag. It's kind of like the cinch. You'll see once we close it up exactly what I mean. Just fold them on the diagonal there. I don't use the bone folder there because it's too hard to get in there, but see how you can then close the top and it'll be like a cinched side of a bag. We'll put it all together and it'll make more sense. But for now, once everything's reinforced, I am going to put some tape runner right on this tab that's on the outside of both pieces. For the flap of the bag, there's actually two score lines so that you can make kind of a flat top there. I don't know if you can see that, but it's really cute. Then again, reinforce the score lines on the other side as well. And once that's done, you'll see that again, on this side, there are diagonal lines. I'm just going to fold them in so that I can create the cinched side on this side of the bag as well. And once that's done, you can see how this is all going to come together. It's basically two of the same pieces, only one has a flap, and we'll put some tape runner on this little tab as well. I like to keep those square tabs at the bottom without any tape runner. So I put a little bit of tape runner on the long rectangle on the side where that tab is going to go. So you can see that I'm putting the tabs in first so that I'm creating my bottom of the bag first. Then I'm going to hold up both these pieces and try to get both tabs folded in and then underneath the other side of the other die cut. So side that has a tab with side that doesn't have a tab next to, and then the other side is side that has a tab with and next to the side that doesn't have a tab. It all just kind of closes up together. And then I decided to put a little tape runner where I knew the bottom was going to come together so that I could make sure that the bottom stays closed as well. So you can see there, that side and that tab, and then the two bottoms. I can press down once I have that tape runner on the inside. Just make sure your tape runner is hidden by another piece of paper. Otherwise, whatever goodies you put inside are going to stick to the bottom of the bag, and you don't want that. And then you can just close that flap, and it's super, super cute. You could put candy in there. You could put little other favors in there. It's just an adorable little bag with or without the window. I decided to use the sheet of tags from the pattern paper pack, and I cut a couple of them out. And then I'm using my We Are Memory Keepers punch. It's a hole punch with several sizes of holes that you can punch out. Basically, line up the white from the tag inside the open area of the punch and then squeeze, and you've punched out the white part of this tag, which is the part that then becomes the tag's hole. So I used a slightly larger one, the 1/4, for this larger tag, and it worked out perfectly. There is a tag die in the set as well, so I cut one of those out too. I'm going to use some black and white twine to keep all the tags together and to adhere them to the bag. So I wrapped the twine around the bag several times and then just kind of knotted it loosely at the top. It's not so tight that it's crushing the bag, and the recipient will be able to just slide it off the side. Then I'm going to place the twine through all 3 of these tags, and once again just tie a little loose knot at the top just to keep everything in place. And last but not least, I did just tie a tiny little bow. You can see that I got down to pretty short on one side, but it ended up working out just perfectly, and I just trimmed the long side off, and it was a cute little bow at the top of this favor bag. I think these favors would be super cute as little name cards at a table. They would be great for Christmas or Valentine's Day or even Thanksgiving. So many different ways to use them. Along with this traditional Halloween release, the Stamp Market has these beautiful Meadow Fresh floral stamps and dies. These are, again, layering stamps, but again, just a couple of layers. So the flower itself is 2 layers, and then the center of the flower is 2 simple layers. Everything is very easy to line up because the shape of the flower is distinct on all sides. The leaves are just 2 layers as well. Very simple to line up again. So you just basically want to make sure you see green inside all of the design. You don't want any white, and then you'll have it perfectly lined up. I absolutely love these eucalyptus leaves. I decided to stamp them in Breeze and Ocean. I know that's not what eucalyptus leaves look like. I just love those colors together. So I did cut down a piece of pattern paper to an A2 size. So it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then I cut down a white panel to pretty slim. It's about 3 1/4 by maybe 4 3/4. And I stamped the sentiment, "My heart is full," at the top and "Because of you" at the bottom. And I'm going to layer all these leaves and flowers with some tape runner that gives me a little bit of time to move things around. You can see I had to shift things behind the popped up flowers because I wanted it to really be kind of organic looking. I did decide to mat this on a little bit of black cardstock. So I'm going to adhere it to the black cardstock with a tiny line around 2 sides and then trim the other 2 sides down so that it just helped it pop off the background. And I really like the way that those colors pop on the white and black as well. If Halloween is not your thing, I really think you will love these messy hearts, stamps, and dies. I adore them. They make it so much fun to play with color. So for the first largest heart here, I am stamping it in Ocean Ink. This was a new color that came out this summer, and if you know me, you know I love blues. They're just absolutely some of my favorite colors. You know I love rainbows, but we're not doing a rainbow today. We're doing some blues and some pinks. So the second layer fits right inside the first layer, but it doesn't have to be perfect. You kind of decide how close you want things to be on all the sides. I tried to get it to just sort of be central, but it really doesn't matter because the idea of the sort of messy hearts is that they're organic and painted looking, hand-drawn looking. So they're so pretty with all the different colors of Stamp Market inks. And then I just added "My heart is filled with thanks" at the very top. Can you believe I actually made a 1-layer card, and I really do love it. It's clean and simple, so it's right up my alley. For the dies, I'm also going to add in the Best Wishes stamp set dies, and they also have foil plates. This is my first time trying these, so I'm not actually going to talk about the foiling so I can really get a handle on whether I like that or not, but I do like the way this turned out. The Big Hugs is foiled in gold foil and then cut out with the dies. So I'm going to use this on top of the heart dies that I cut out of similar colors of cardstock that I used in the inks. So this is again the ocean. I also have breeze, and I used some salmon, and I think I used cheeky cardstock as well. The little sentiment was so fine and delicate that it was getting lost on all those bright colors of hearts. So I did layer up like I think 3 layers of the dies. You can just cut the dies out of white cardstock and then adhere them together with some liquid glue, and that just pops them up just enough so that they don't get lost on that bright background there, and then just use a little bit of liquid glue to adhere them down right on top. Love, 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 love these messy hearts. I think I will be using them all the time. I did cut the panel down and then adhered it down to some of the grid pink pattern paper, which is another one of my favorites. Lots of favorites this month. As always, I want to thank you so much for spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon. I always do the card making, and I'll like hot. We need to turn the fan on. So let's get this done.